What's going on, everybody? All right, it's game day. It's game day, week one of the preseason. We go up against the Seattle Seahawks, Thursday night football. And I want to break this thing down. I want to kind of go over the things that I'm looking for on both the offense and defense side of the ball. There's a lot of question marks in multiple positions on just how this is going to work out. And this is going to be the first step of really trying to see what Pete Carroll and this coaching staff's plan is and how everything is going to really start to piece itself together by week one of the regular season. So before we get into it, if you can, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. My next giveaway is at 5,500 subscribers. So if you want to be included, hit that sub button. I definitely appreciate it. And first, I want to ask you, what's the main thing you're looking for during this first preseason game? All right. What are you really watching for? Let me know in the comment section down below, because for myself, a couple main things that I like to focus on just in general is how many of our starters actually get in the game, right? Pete Carroll did say in a press conference that everybody's live. So I just want to know how many starters actually get in the game. And once I identify those starters, I want to know what competition are they going up against? I want to take a look at what starters are playing on the Seattle side as well, because this is preseason. Starters and backups, they all get shuffled around. And sometimes you might have a starter in one position and they might be going up against a second or third stringer. You just never know. So that's definitely something I want to identify. Is it a starter or backup playing on our end? And at the same time, what's the caliber of competition that they're facing? So that's one thing I'm definitely looking for. In addition to that, I really like to focus on the players that we picked in the first 3 rounds. I'm a firm believer that anytime you pick somebody, you draft a player in the first 3 rounds, the true goal is for them to either start at the beginning of the season or potentially find their way in a starting position at some point in the season. So you really want to identify how well they're progressing, how do they look. But in addition to that, going back to my other point, is what's the competition that they're facing when they do step on that football field. So I definitely want to focus on the players that we drafted in the first 3 rounds and just how they have developed. Because at the end of the day, JohnSpytek, he's a brand new general manager. I'm a firm believer that you build through the draft. So I want to understand, how do these players look? How well have they progressed? Can we get some indication as to how well JohnSpytek did address the draft early on? Now let's talk about the offensive side. And my first question is what are you looking for specifically on the offensive side? What are you focused on? What are you looking most forward to watching when the offense takes the field in this week 1 preseason game? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, the first one for me is I am going to be solely focused on the offensive line. Obviously, I want to see, do the starters take the field? I think we have a really good idea as to who the starters will be. I do think it's going to be DJ Glaze at the right tackle. You're going to have JPJ at the left guard, Jordan Meredith at center, Dylan Parham anchoring down the right guard position. Then we got Colton Miller that we just extended. So I do think that's probably what the starters are going to look like. And I definitely want to see if they take the field. And I also want to see if they take the field together. That entire unit, do they play together for at least a series or two? Because my biggest thing with the offensive line, and we've done so much shuffling around, I really want this offensive line to start building the continuity and the chemistry together. That's the most important thing for an offensive line, to work together and build that trust within one another and really work as a true unit, because I'm a firm believer that within the offensive line, you're as good as your weakest link. So these guys got to learn how to gel and be ready for week 1 of the regular season. And it starts today on the field when live bullets are coming at you. I'm also going to be watching for Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant whenever they enter into the game, because obviously both these guys, they were picked in the 3rd round. And I do think Charles Grant has a really good chance of battling with Dylan Parham for potentially becoming a starter at some point in this season based on what Dylan Parham did last season. So I'm definitely watching for Caleb Rogers, but at the same time, Charles Grant, we extended Colton Miller. DJ Glaze proved that he has the potential to be a pretty good right tackle in the National Football League. And so where does Charles Grant fit in this whole thing? Because once again, if you chose him within those first 3 rounds, which he was picked in the 3rd round, you would hope at some point they would have some impact as a potential starter later down the road. And so how well does Charles Grant progress? How good does he look in this stage of the offseason? Now, I do think Charles Grant is somewhat of a project. I do think it's going to take him 1 to potentially 2 seasons to really understand this game at this level. But again, because Colton Miller's on a 3-year extension and DJ Glaze is only in his 2nd year of his rookie contract, where does Charles Grant play a role on this offensive line? And so remains to be seen, but I definitely want to focus. Once he does hit the field, I want to see just kind of how he looks. And are we going to see what JohnSpytek and Pete Carroll saw in him in order to draft him in the 3rd round? So I'm definitely watching out for that. Now, if Ashton Jetty does step on the field, obviously everybody's going to be glued to the TV, just kind of taking a look at what he can do and just really how he looks in his first live action in the NFL. But I'm also really interested in what this rotation is going to look like. Obviously, we have Raheem Mostert. We brought him in, but has age kind of caught up with him a little bit? Is he as fast as what we saw just a couple of years ago? That remains to be seen. But I'm also really interested on how Zamir White looks. I went to the Henderson practice facility. They were doing an open practice, so I was able to see him kind of in person, and he does. He looks faster. He does look like he is a little more quicker. And the thing is that obviously a lot of his issues was more around just his vision and him able to find the holes. But I'm really interested to see just how Zamir White can play in Chip Kelly's system. I do think that Chip Kelly might lean more on that power run scheme, which might help Zamir White a little bit. And then you got Sincere McCormick and Dylan Lobby. And I think these are the two guys that are really going to be battling for maybe that last running back position when we ultimately cut down to 52 players. And so I definitely think those two are going to be battling. I do think Sincere McCormick, even though he has that injury history, should be able to edge out Dylan Labe. But at the end of the day, it's always a battle, and this is why we got preseason. So I'm definitely looking at the running back rotation, just kind of see who flashes. And next, I'm going to be looking out for Jack Besh. When he steps on the field, I just want to see how physical can he be in the National Football League, right? A lot of people talked about just how physical he was in college. I want to see how does that translate to the NFL. And at the same time, when he goes out for pass routes, how much separation can he get at this level? We all know he's got great hands with only one drop in the 2024 season, but how good of a route runner is he? And again, can he create that separation against NFL caliber defensive backs? And if Geno does get some playing time, I really just want to know, what does his timing look like with some of these receivers that we know will get substantial playing time, like the Trey Tuckers, the Jacoby Myers, Deontay Thornton? Just what does the timing look like, even with Brock Bowers, right? One of the hardest things in the National Football League is for a quarterback and a receiver to get their timing down and be on the same page. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes even half a season for quarterbacks and receivers really to understand each other. One great example, and I say it all the time, is you can take Devonta Adams, right? Devonta Adams can run a slant 4, 5, 6 different ways depending on how the defender is going to line up against him. And that's the thing, is the quarterback and the receiver, they have to understand that they have to be on the same page. And so if Geno Smith does get in, I just want to see, what does the timing look like? It doesn't have to be perfect right now, but how well does it look? And does it look like it's potentially coming together? And lastly, on the offensive side, I'm really interested to see what Chip Kelly's formations are going to look like. Now, I'm pretty sure that the offense is going to look very vanilla, very plain. These players don't have the full playbook, right? You got to understand that a lot of these players are going to get cut and they're going to go and join other teams. And so Chip Kelly's not giving them all the secrets. They're going to go out with a very simple and basic game plan. But I can see Chip Kelly come out and play around with the formations that he is going to use in the regular season. And one of the things that we're all hearing about is that 12 personnel, double tight end sets. Is Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, are they going to be a tandem this season? And sometimes will we see a 3 tight end set with Ian Thomas potentially coming in as well? With Ashton Genty being such a focus and focal point of this offense, you can get some big bodies, some blockers in front of him and really smash mouth some people. So I just want to see, what kind of formations is Chip Kelly going to come out in? And how much will we potentially see this Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer tandem in the regular season? So that's kind of my breakdown on the offensive side, what I'm going to be watching out for this week 1 preseason game. So once again, let me know in the comment section down below, what are you looking for on the offensive side of the ball and what are you going to be focused on? So let's go ahead and let's jump to the defensive side. Let's break this side down as well. Now, first I asked you about the offensive side. Now I'm going to ask you about the defensive side. What are you going to be watching out for on the defensive side of the ball? What are you going to be focused on in this Thursday night game? And the first one I'm going to talk about is Tyree Wilson. This year has to be his coming out party. Now it remains to be seen. Is he going to be more of an edge rusher? Maybe they're going to move him inside. We're not just sure, but I'm definitely going to be focused on that. I want to see kind of where they're going to play him. But Tyree Wilson is in that position now that he needs to make an impact every single chance that he gets. We know maxxcrosby and Malcolm Koonce are going to be the starters off the edge. And if Tyree ends up being just a rotational piece, every time he steps on that field, he has to make an impact and show that he can be a focal point of this defense. And next, I'm going to talk about the linebackers. And I think we have our starters. We got Landon Roberts, we got Jermaine Pratt. Looks like Devin White is definitely going to be battling for that third linebacker position. But I'm definitely looking at what's the rotation going to look like, the backups, and who's going to really battle to make the final cut in this linebacker room. You got Jamal Adams that's brought in. He's a Pete Carroll guy. And how's Patrick Graham going to use him? Is Tommy Eichenberg finally going to step up and show that he can battle and provide competition in this linebacker room? You also got a fan favorite, Amari Gaynor, which I was a big fan of last offseason when we brought him in as a UDFA. And then the 7th round, Cody Lindenberg. I was a massive fan of bringing in Cody Lindenberg. That was the guy that I want. But when you get a guy in the seventh round, he's definitely a project. He's a guy that you definitely want him to contribute on special teams. But I do think that he's got the tools and the skill set to really battle in this linebacker room. So I'm definitely interested to see, one, does he get on the field on the defense, or if he does play special teams, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for him. Now, when it comes to the cornerback position, I think that there's just so many question marks as it relates to the cornerbacks on this roster. Darian Porter, let's just see how well does he adjust to the National Football League, given the fact that he really didn't have a lot of experience playing in college, but a lot of people are saying that he's catching on fairly well, and this coaching staff is seeing improvement. Then you got Eric Stokes. We'll just kind of see which Eric Stokes are we going to get. And then you got DC Richardson, and is he going to start improving from last season? Obviously, it was a really rough last season, but at the same time, I do think one of the hardest positions to transition from college to the NFL is at the cornerback position. And so, can year two show some growth and improvement for DC Richardson? It remains to be seen, but I'm definitely watching for it in the preseason. And most importantly, the slot corner position. We have Darnay Holmes that is slotted to be the starter at that position, and it remains to be seen just how well he could do. We had plenty of opportunities to potentially bring somebody in through free agency. We could have addressed it in the draft. There was a guy that I liked that went in the third round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but ultimately we're rocking with who we got. And so is it going to be Darnay Holmes, or is it going to be more Jeremy Chin working in this slot? It remains to be seen. I'm definitely going to be watching out for it because it's definitely a position that has a lot of question marks, and I'm definitely watching to see how it plays out the rest of these preseason games. And lastly, just like I stated with Chip Kelly, I'm definitely interested to see what type of defensive fronts Patrick Graham is going to come out in. Is going to stick to kind of his basic 4-3 front like we've seen in the past. Now, last year, we did see some 5-man fronts, but the way that he kind of used it is he moved the linebackers over, right? He had more of an overhang linebacker, even rolling a linebacker over set outside the edge on the line of scrimmage. So I'm really curious what a Patrick Graham defense looks like, and is going to be more Patrick Graham, or is there going to be the Pete Carroll twist to it? Kind of bringing back that Legion of Boom cover 3 type of defense. So I definitely want to see just kind of how much flexibility Patrick Graham has in this defense, because based on the personnel that we have, there's a lot of flexibility to play around with the athletes that we have and let these guys fly. So I'm definitely interested in that. And once again, let me know, what are you going to be focusing on the defense side of the ball this first preseason game? Let me know in the comment section down below. So that kind of sums up my breakdown of this preseason game. That's just what I'm looking for. But ultimately, this is preseason week 1. There's a lot of evaluation to still go down. It's still a long process to get to that final 53-man roster. So I'm excited. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you can't hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Again, my next giveaway is at 5,500 subscribers. So if you want to be included, hit that sub button. So enjoy the game. I'll hit you with a post-game video of my winners and losers of our week 1 preseason game, but I may also go live as well later this evening. So hit that notification bell so you do know if I go live. So again, I appreciate you. Enjoy it. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out of here.